Welcome to Newsline In-Depth. I'm Doden. Today we bring you an exclusive interview with Congolese doctor Denis Mukwege, who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize last year. Mukwege is at the forefront of the global struggle to support victims of wartime sexual violence, starting with his own country, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. For decades, the Central African nation has been racked by civil war and regional conflict, and it's been the women who have borne the brunt of the fighting. In October, Mukwege visited Japan. I sat down with him to hear more about his mission and its impact.
I think that now it's 20 years I'm working in Eastern Congo, and my focus was especially, and it's still on women in conflict, and especially sexual violence. It's so sad to see that now really the fighting is happening on the body of women.
Denis Mukwege was in Japan last month as part of his global lecture tour to a dozen countries. He hopes affluent nations, including Japan, will confront the crimes occurring in Eastern Congo, a region holding large amounts of the rare mineral, coltan. Coltan is crucial to producing electronic devices such as smartphones. The demand in end markets like Japan is fueling the bloodshed in his country. Who is benefiting from this cycle of violence perpetuating?
You can see that all these militia are fighting, but they are also the ones who are doing the business of coltan and gold, crossing the border to bring this mineral out of the country.
In other words, we all have our own gadgets, like smartphones. We are part of it, perhaps.
When you have electronic equipment, and especially smartphone in your pocket, you have a small piece of Congo in your pocket, and this small piece of Congo in your pocket is a coltan coming from this area where women are treated as slaves, where sexual violence is done to destroy the communities and to destroy women. This is really so traumatizing all the communities. It's not only women who are traumatized, it's also their family and the husband. So the community is traumatized as a whole when this happened to women.
Mukwege is the director of Panzi Hospital in Eastern Congo. New patients arrive there every day, the survivors of sexual violence.
Ici, on voit.
Il n'y a pas de différence entre l'anus et le vagin.
Là, on est même incapable d'aller.
Et comment tu vas reconstruire?
Bon, je vais reconstruire, mais maintenant, le challenge, c'est rendre le vagin perméable.
Mukwege has treated over 55,000 victims so far, ranging in age from 6 months to 80 years old.
I met women who were traumatized or raped or raped with extreme violence. And my experience is that when it happened for a woman, maybe the rapist can forget just one day after they already forget, but for women, it's forever.
And he does more than just treat these women medically. He works holistically with psychological and social care to restore their dignity.
Dada. Na ile kuwa nalio nafikiri kama virginite njo byote maisha, mi mwache nibambie hapana. Virginite ya kweli ni yenye iko ndani ya roho yako.
But in such extreme situation, Is forgiveness or reconciliation even possible?
Yeah, I think we can't say that it's not impossible. They need really to be reconciled with themselves and take again their life, take their body, take confidence in themselves. And after, it's very important to don't keep hate. Because when you keep hate, it means that hate will destroy not only your enemy, but it will destroy yourself.
Mukwege says that for survivors of sexual violence, the crucial element to support them in carrying on is to help them become reconciled with themselves. But these victims have gone through such horrific ordeals, it makes you wonder whether that can ever be possible. During Mukwege's visit to Japan, he was keen to see if there might be a key to achieving reconciliation. One place the Nobel laureate longed to visit while in Japan was Hiroshima. He was fascinated to understand how the locals rose from the ashes of the utter devastation wrought by the atomic bomb and found the courage to live on in their pain and agony.
The message is they have to keep hope. Even if you go through darkness and terrible things, it's still that with hope you can build the future.
For Mukwege, surviving for 7 decades after the A-bomb itself is a living testimony of the resilience of human beings. This is something he hopes to see happen in his homeland.
It's the medical, the psychological support, to accept, to reintegrate the community, to go through the process of family mediation, reconciliation, to forgive others, and to be able to say, I want to get my dignity back so I can be enough strong to work in the community. You can see that I did just my small part, but the rest of things must be done by the victim himself.
You have once said that, that their life will be changed forever. If that is the case, what is meant by reparation?
Reparation is really to support, to help women to change this way that they have impression for themselves that they don't exist at all as a human, and feel that it happened, it was not their fault. This is very important. And the second thing, to feel that they're still human, so they can take their life in their own hands and rebuild it again.
This woman herself is a survivor of sexual violence. Once her wounds had healed, she worked on a farm to raise money. With Mukwege's encouragement and some financial help, she now has built a house of her own.
Sawa vile ndani ya biro ya Daktari Mukwege, sawa vile msite de la joie, ngisi muko mnameremeta, ndio projet yangu kabisa mimi napenda hapa kwangu kukue.
You can see that most of the women we are treating at Panzi, when they return back in their community, they become leaders in their own community. And that I can say, the life before can't be like the life after. This is definitely, even if you treat them, most of the time women, when they get this healing, is not just to say, okay, it's happened, I will go on with my normal life. Our impression is that they become even more strong in the community, speaking out and trying really to push the change in the community. So they are really the agent of change in the community.
Mukwege has been relentless in condemning the sexual violence in Congo. He has also criticized the Congo government for not doing enough to halt the violence against women. However, raising his voice like this has put his life at risk. Mukwege has come under armed attack and now lives under UN protection at his hospital.
The big really question is impunity. It's economical war. There are people who are benefiting it, but also the impunity is not only in the country, but it also the impunity on the international level.
In 2010, the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights published a report mapping the most serious violations of human rights and international humanitarian law committed in the Congo. The 550-page document, commonly known as the Mapping Report, records in detail 617 cases of violent incidents committed against unarmed civilians, including women and children, that can be classified as gross violations of human rights. These accounts of murder, rape, destruction and violence linked to exploitation of resources between 1993 to 2003 remind us of the scope and gravity of the atrocities conducted against the most vulnerable. However, the report does not give the names of each perpetrator, and it is unrealistic to expect local courts in Congo to prosecute high-profile cases in which military leaders were implicated. While the victims deserve justice, the lack of action and the prevailing culture of impunity have shielded those responsible for these crimes. I mean, you have spoken about the silence and that it is equally criminal to be silent when you see atrocities taking place.
Exactly. As I said, you know, this problem is not only at the national level, it's also at the international level. Not a single recommendation of the High Commission of Human Rights was followed by the international community. And there I can say that where is the justice on the international level?
Mukwege says that if a person believes he or she has power over another, and if a culture exists of belittling, discriminating and harassing others, then similar violence can occur even during times of peace. The rampant sexual violence in Congo may appear to be extreme, but we should remember that as long as this mindset exists, sexual violence can happen anywhere in the world, even close to home and in our own communities. That's it for today's Newsline In Depth.